In this video, I'm going to share some writing advice from some of the world's most famous authors, from those who have actually been there and done it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I've had a sign over my typewriter for 25 years now which reads, "Don't think." You must never think at the typewriter, you must feel. The worst thing you do when you think is lie. You can make up reasons that are not true for the things that you did. And what you're trying to do as a creative person is surprise yourself, find out who you really are, and try not to lie, try to tell the truth all the time. And the only way to do this is by being very active and very emotional, and get it out of yourself, and making lists of things that you hate and things that you love. And you write about these then, intensely. And when it's over, then you can think about it. Then you can look at it, well, it works or it doesn't work, something's missing here. And then if something is missing, you go back and re-emotionalize that, so it's all of a piece. But thinking is to be a corrective in our life. It's not supposed to be the center of our life. Living is supposed to be the center of our life.
All writers are vain, selfish, and lazy. And at the bottom of their motives there lies a mystery.
And so you have no control over what you write.
Writing a book is a horrible, exhausting struggle, like a long bout with some painful illness. One would never undertake such a thing if one were not driven by some demon one can neither resist nor fully comprehend.
1984, with its Thought Police, Room 101 and Big Brother, has given us a language with which we can defy oppression. What demon drove you to dream up 1984?
I do not think one can assess a writer's motives without knowing something of his early development. His subject matter will be determined by the age in which he lives. But before he ever begins to write, he will have acquired an emotional attitude from which he will never completely escape.
What kind of writer do you want to be? Do you want to be a thriller writer? Do you want to write the kind of novels that I write? Are you interested in science fiction? What are you? And I think that is the most important thing that a writer needs to know. What is your goal? I think once you're clear on that, then what you should do is really learn what makes that particular genre work. I mean, if you're going to write a thriller, for instance, well, you should know a little bit about thrillers. You might want to read 25 or 50 of them. Once you read about 50 of these, you kind of get a knack for how the whole process works, and then you can go ahead and come up with your story and write your novel.
What makes the public library so good to work in? I mean, I know a lot of writers would be, I imagine, horrified to be in a kind of public space.
I love if you need a character, all you have to do is look up people walking back and forth, and it's like being an artist sketching at a sidewalk cafe. The people walk on characters, everybody you need is right there. And you know, of course, books, this was a book for which I had to read a lot.
But do you have a routine? If you're at home, for example, if you're in the countryside, do you have a routine? Do you write every day?
Every now and then life will intervene, but unless I write every day, and even if I have guests, I will slip away to my little room where I work, and always, yes.
And you're an inveterate note-taker as well, then?
I do. I carry a notebook with me wherever I go, because if I don't write it down when I think of it, I'll never think of it again. And most of my notes are, Joan Didion uses the phrase, bits of the mind's string too short to use. And so many of my notes are just bits and bobs and little magpie gleamings and glintings, and they won't really ever turn up in any piece of finished work.
And what about at night? I mean, are you a night writer?
Oh, yeah, I do. A night writer. I like that. Yeah, I do. Well, it depends. If I've had a hard day, I'll quit. I'll knock off. I'll go do something else. But if I'm on a run, if I'm doing well, I'm like a gambler. I don't want to get up from the table.
My experience is of not being, and I think there's a lot of people who would agree with this, not being very gifted at writing, and of having to try really hard, to work very hard at what I do, to put in long hours and to concentrate on it. I don't feel in any way that I have natural abilities in this, and I just work hard. That's my experience.
Working hard.
Yeah.
keeping your eye on the goal?
Well, this is something I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to be a writer, and I'm very happy to be doing it. But I don't think that I'm especially...
Is it easier?
No, it's harder.
It's harder?
Sure.
Why? Why do you say sure?
Well, I think that that's a common experience for people who do some activity.
The better you do it, the more difficult the more difficult it is, because you understand the levels of proficiency, one, and secondly, the more you do it, the more you understand about something, the more you appreciate the complexity of it.
Yes, and the more of all the easy things you get, so pretty soon you've done all those easy things.
Everyone is going to have their own process. For me, I like to write first thing in the morning. I am at my desk at 4 o'clock every day, 365 days a year. That is my process. That's my time. And by working early in the morning, I signal myself that this is the most important thing you're going to do today. That's just the way I do it. Some people write at night. I know a lot of people who write in the morning, a lot of very successful writers. You're fresh. If you're up at 4 a.m., nobody's calling you and there's no email pouring in. And speaking of email, my writing process includes a space that has no internet. I have no email pouring in no matter what time of day it is. I've created a space that is essentially no email, no internet, no phone, and I just say, this is the place where I create. That's my process.
And on this board, of course, I wrote the last book that I finished, which incidentally is called Matilda. For about 20 years, I've had a tiny little note in my notebook saying, do a story about a child who can make things move with her eyes alone. And I've kept looking at this over the years, and finally, a little over a year ago, I decided I'd have a go at it. The first time Matilda discovers this power of hers, she gets angry with the headmistress, and the headmistress has a glass of water in front of her, and she stares at the glass of water and suddenly has a wish to tip it over into the headmistress's lap, and she feels the power suddenly surging behind her eyes, and she sees it just wobble a little bit and start to tip, and she pushes harder with her eyes and harder, and suddenly over it goes.
I feel more sympathy with the hybrids, and I think probably as a creator I'm also a hybrid, in the sense that the kind of fiction I write is very difficult to categorize, even though attempts have been made to call it horror or to call it science fiction or to call it fabulist fiction. I write a fiction of the imagination which is Clive Barker's fiction, and it is a hybrid. It contains all kinds of disparate influences, William Blake and Goya and Bosch at the high art end, if you like, and I guess comic books, Crazy Cat, Bugs Bunny, Ray Harryhausen's movies, Fantasia. At the other end, I shouldn't say ends because that sort of implies some hierarchy of excellence. I don't really mean that. I think that Goya probably would have enjoyed Bugs Bunny. It was very visual and Goya was deaf. You know, the whole thing about categorization is about limitation and specialization. And I'm an inclusionist rather than an exclusionist. I want to be able to take in as many influences, as eclectic as possible.
Read as much as you can, because you will learn, you will enlarge your vocabulary, and you'll start being able to analyse what you like and what you don't like. You'll go through a phase where you imitate your favourite writers. That's great. That's like an apprenticeship. You're learning. There are some basic rules. Of course there are basic rules. You write as well as you can, as much as you can. You've got to put the hours in. You've got to keep writing when it's tough. But no one can actually tell you how to do it. You have to find that out for yourself. And that shouldn't be a discouraging thing. That should be an empowering thing. No one really knows how to do it, and that includes me.
Number one, you must write. A lot of aspiring writers never actually write. They just talk about how they're going to write something one day, and they'll get to it, and they want to be a writer too. No, you must write. Hopefully every day, at least every week or something. Don't let it go. Number two, and this one is going to bite me on the ass. I've been fighting it all my life, but it's you must finish what you write. And yes, all of you people who tell I should finish, yes, I'm trying. I'm still working on it. I know it's 12 years late, but I'm still working on The Winds of Winter. But back when I was first starting to write, which was like in high school and junior high, I was writing these fanzine stories or a few stories that I tried to sell professionally, except I'd never finish them. I'd have this vision in my head of some fantastic idea, and then I'd start writing it, and it got less fantastic the more I wrote on it. It's like the platonic ideal of a story in the head, but when you actually have to put it in words, it gets worse and worse, and I'd get like 10 pages, which was a lot for me in those days, and say, oh, this isn't working, but I have another idea that's really great. So I accumulated all these fragments of stories, 4 pages of this story, 8 pages of the other story. And until I read Heinlein, and then I said, I have to finish these stories. Finish what you write. That's important.